Welcome to G-Man Gaming and Reviews. Alright, this is going to be our guide for the Wyrdhunter class in Tainted Grail. So we're going to start right in the middle of combat. It's always good to hover over what each enemy does, because it'll tell you about the enemies. Now, the Wyrdhunter is a class that wants to be attacking as often as possible. You'll notice here down bottom is that Wyrdhunter ability once per round. It charges by inflicting hits or a single instance of damage. So using this to hit once would do 1 charge. Using this to do 3 hits would actually do 3 charges. So we're going to use this card. And we're going to attempt to take out. Now, you want to have as many block cards in your hand as you could, or he's actually doing an additional hit. So we're going to use this second block card. Now, he increases the number of hits by the amount of attacks he takes in a turn. So we'll take that out. And then we'll use the trap card. The trap cards are better to use. You're better off using armor increasing cards. Very, very good. Now that'll actually build... I wish I would have gotten that card the previous turn, but that's fine. So we're going to use that. Use that. Kind of want to take him out. Now you'll notice here that he's got... You'll notice here that he's got 3 out of 4 hunter marks. If I do 1 more, my next attack will do double damage. Okay. So we'll use this block card to get the block. And this is probably a good... Now, if you have a look here, this is doing 21 to 45 damage at 11 charges. So if we increase it by playing this card, now it does 41 to 87. So I'm going to play it to try to get rid of him. And it got rid of him. Now, I could play this card, and I probably will. Now we've got the Stunning Shout, which we can play to stun him. And we're going to attack. Now you always have this card in your hand. Now he's going to buff. Now, generally, you want to do small hits. So the small strikes card, because it deals more charges. And I'm going to use this. Now, you want to make use of these charges because they don't last. So I'm going to use Broad Reach to increase the damage that it does. Now, you'll notice that it said that he was going to do 10 lots of 6 to 9 damage. I might take that card. First hit deals double. Now normally this would be good, but Whenever you hit an enemy, reduce their armor by 2 until the end of... I'm going to take this. Extra blocking is good.
There's an old...
No, we'll leave it for now. Let's have a look. That's a legendary encounter. That's the boss. That's a weak host of evil, so we'll go after that. Now, the one thing you got to keep in mind when you're playing this game. Alright, so you'll notice that they're... Now, this one will actually spawn into lesser grubs that will do less damage, but there will be more of them. So I'm going to use stunning. Now, the advantage of using... hang on. Stunning shout's not going to work. He's got damage. So we're going to use the 2 block cards. Well, what does this do? Take out him first. So we block. I would use this, but I'm not going to take any damage, so might as well use that because it doesn't cost anything. So that doesn't cost anything, so we'll use that to build up charges. And if I remember, block every second hit received in a turn, so I only need to use 1 block because the second hit will be blocked. So I'm going to take him out, use the small strikes. Ah, it's block every second hit. Ah, okay. That wasn't necessarily good. Right, so we'll use that. We're doing damage. Now, this is, at this point, is doing 41 to 87 damage. If I actually do this, and then I do this, I can use this to buff the damage, and now it's doing 143 to 303 damage. So one of the things about using this character class is making use of... You'll actually be using your charges a lot more liberally than... So we can use this one to stun them because they've got 0 armor, which is just 1 card. And unfortunately... Now you'll notice, unfortunately, I have no block cards, but I have this, so not too bad. We took very little damage. So he's stunned, so we're only going to use the 1 block and double edge and broad reach and block, because draw 1 card more. So we'll use this. It's a very, very useful card. And you'll notice that I'm actually doing more damage. The reason is I've got this power circulation ability that increases my damage by 10% until the end of combat. So far it's increased by 30. Now I can actually kill one of them. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll use this. And now we'll take him out. Now one of the things about this game is that you don't save charges in between turns, so it is very, very worthwhile could use this to do the gain 2 blocks, but I kind of don't want to. We can take him out. And now we only need to use 1 block. Now, not taking damage in this game is very, very important. I should have equipped some runestones. What do we want? Increased damage by 2 is pretty good. I don't really have a choice of very good runes here, so... Who is Wyrdhunter?
The sound of clattering rock.
And for, or maybe I have a...
Ooh, you get... What's this? Every turn increase everyone's armor by 5. Oh, I think the armor one would be better. Alright, we'll do one more battle. Actually, we'll do one more battle. Now we took damage. And he's going to do 3 lots of little damage, so we're actually going to stun him. And we're going to use double block. Oh, he's still going to do the damage. I might use trap and block and double edge. Now the reason I used the trap card is because the first hit I'm gonna take, or the second hit I'm gonna take, but then he's gonna get stunned. We've got 8 charges, that's not enough to... So we only need to use the 1 block now. That's at 19 to 37. Yep, so we'll reduce the damage. Take the trap card. So they do almost no damage. And deal another hit. Now you'll see that it does 29 to 55. Now you always have this card in your hand, so if I play this card, it will boost it to from 53 to 101. So that's what we're going to do to get rid of him. And it takes him out of the game. Now we can concentrate on this enemy. So we've got the one we'll use the double block. Play that because it doesn't cost anything. Now he's got a lot of armor. Now he's vulnerable. Now you'll see that because he's vulnerable, he would take 100 damage on the next hit. Oh, he's still vulnerable. I didn't know that. Oh no, wait, no, the vulnerable disappears, so that's what should happen. Now he's pretty much done for. We use this, and we use this card because you draw an additional card. I would lose armor, but I don't have any blocks, so... Ooh, this will stun him, which is absolutely great. And now we attack. Attack again. Now we're going to use this to build up strikes. And you'll notice that the Wyrdhunter ability now does 61 to 100. Now if I buff this, now it does 105 to 201 damage, which is going to kill him in a single turn. And it does. So that's pretty much how to... Now, obviously when you're drawing cards... So obviously when you're drawing cards, you want blocks and stuns, but also this card can be good because you can buff its damage. So you can do 100, so you can make it do 650 damage for one hit. Actually, no, you can't do that, but still, sometimes it's useful just to have this one card in your deck when you've got a target that's very heavily armored. Charge your ultimate ability to half of its max charges. Can be useful, but so can this. Alright, welcome back. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're back in the village and we're going to talk about runes. I've got the blacksmith, so that's good. Now, in terms of, or maybe we'll start with runes. Now, the runes that you play do depend on your deck. If I have a look in my... I actually got a pretty good rune for this run. I actually got this rune, which actually either increases damage by 10 or increases armor by 5 each turn, which is actually quite good. I've got it on the armor, just to be on the safe side. Now, as for what sort of runes you want... it does depend on your playstyle. So you've got, in first turn, withdraw one additional card with the cost reduced by 1. I mean, the armor slot you calced could be good, but the only problem is that heal for 5 HP after every combat one is not that useful. It's not enough to justify its cost, to justify having it. In the armor slot. I mean, there are other armors that, like, for instance, if we... then we've got Gar, which increases damage by 2, which can be good. Increasing your overall damage is actually quite good in this game because it stacks. But at the end of the turn, deal 1 hit for 5 damage to all enemies. Not really... Because it's only 1 hit. If it was multiple hits, it would be better. Now you've got Ethel, which every card it played increases your damage by 5% this turn in the weapon slot, and increase armor by 10. This is probably better for any of the archer classes, because by increasing their base armor, they increase the barrier that they get. But for this character... Now, Tyr is an interesting one, and I have played this before. The increase in armor for the first turn is actually quite good. It can help you deal with an awkward start quite efficiently, and as you level it up, it increases the number of turns that the effect has. That being said, if that was me, I would probably go with... and what runes do I actually have? If that was me, I would probably go with runes that provide... runes that can actually do a lot of... that can buff your damage in the first turn can be quite useful, as long as you've got the cards to handle it. Like, for instance, in this deck, I've got this Skull Cleaver card. So if I had a rune that allowed me to double damage in the first turn, that would actually be quite useful, assuming I drew that card. Allowing you to get rid of a minion quite quickly, an enemy quite quickly. So that was my discussion of runes. Now, as for drafting, I mean, you kind of want a mixture of blocking cards and stunning cards, especially like this crippling attack card here. The reason being is that the one annoying thing about this particular character, the Wyrdhunter, in comparison to, say, the Pathfinder, is that the Wyrdhunter, when he uses blocks, all it does is block damage. It doesn't power him up in any way, shape, or form. That's one of the differences between the Wyrdhunter and the Pathfinder, is every time the Pathfinder plays a block card, and every time that he plays a block card, he gets an extra charge of his ultimate ability, and he also, if he doesn't take damage in a turn, he powers up. He increases his damage by 50%. This character class, blocking does nothing apart from stopping you from taking hits. So you're gonna have to block, but most of the time you want to be hitting things so that you can power up your ability. Now, this character class in particular has the ability to do a lot of damage. Like I said before in the previous video, I've almost done 1,000 points of damage by charging up my ultimate ability and with some passives that I had with the charging ability alone. I think it was like 17 or something like that, and it did almost 1,000 points of damage, which is incredible considering how much points of damage things normally do in this game. So, but that being said, that's kind of one of the things that makes this character class interesting. At first glance, because you start with it, it doesn't appear to be that interesting until you get some passives. Like if we go here, this is an earlier gameplay. In other words, this is a different save slot. In another save slot, I've got more passive abilities for the Wyrdhunter. And the Wyrdhunter has one passive ability that if you play 2 or less cards, it increases the next turn. If you end the turn with playing 2 or less cards, the next turn, the first hit that you did does plus 400 damage. And then he has another passive ability where if he plays 2 or less cards in a turn, he deals an additional... In the next turn, he does 100 plus damage with each hit. Now, these things stack. So, I think I might actually go into the other save so I can show you some more passives so you can get an idea about the card. So, just going to transition now. Alright, so this is my later game where I've actually advanced a lot more into the story and unlocked a lot more of the passives. Now, if we have a look at the Wyrdhunter, now there's a few passives here that are interesting, but the ones that I found really, really interesting was Slow Thinker. So if you have a look at Slow Thinker, whenever you play 2 or less cards in a turn, your first hit next turn deals 100 damage. Now, this is very, very powerful when you get it. The reason being is because it allows you to increase the damage that you do with your ultimate ability by 400%. Now, what makes it even more interesting is the fact that there's a card here which can you see it here? Wait, you can't see it because it's a faction card. So there's a card in that you get as the let's have a look. There's a card that you get as the Wyrdhunter, which is always in your hand of cards, which basically increases the damage that you do of the next hit by 100%, right? So if you're gearing up to play, if you've got like a massive amount of ultimate charges, right, and you have this Slow Thinker ability, what you can do is, in the turn that you're in, you can say only use that insight card and one other card, so that in the next turn this passive ability takes effect, and then you play the insight card again to boost your damage by another 100. So now you're boosting it by 600%, and then you use your charge ability. Now, doing 600% damage plus damage on your charging ability when it's charged or it's almost fully charged is where you can start getting to insane amounts of damage in this game. So, like I said, the Wyrdhunter is one of the premier damage dealers in the game. The only problem is keeping him alive. Now, he does have some. There is a card in his deck that can heal him, and he also has this ability here called Explosive Force, which is whenever you kill an enemy with your ultimate ability, heal 7% of your max HP. So he does have some abilities to heal. But like I said, the Wyrdhunter is all about doing damage. The only problem is just keeping him alive long enough to do that. Alright, so this was the end of our guide to the Wyrdhunter. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll do follow-up videos if required or answer your questions. This was G-Man Gaming and Reviews. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.